Hello, class. My name is Patrick Long, and I'm here today to go through with all of you a nonverbal training guide for someone that wants to experience culture or just really have a conversation with somebody. When we talk about nonverbal communications, we think of maybe somebody that cannot speak, but it's actually way past that. It's actually how you speak to somebody. And sometimes we don't know that we're actually showing and giving off different types of communications while we speak. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is called
Kinesics.
kinesics. Now, kinesics is probably the most well-known of all of the nonverbal forms of communication, and it has to do with your body. So the first thing is about body posture. When you're sitting down and talking to somebody, are you sitting up straight? Sometimes if you slouch over, does that mean that you're not really interested in the conversation? Gestures. Gestures is big because it's how you move your arms, move your hands. I'm someone that uses my hands a lot when I talk, and it's just something that I think I've just picked up from family members. We all like to just use our hands and be very animated when we speak. Another thing is facial signals. Sometimes the way that you look, if you look into somebody's eyes, sometimes people don't like to stare into people's eyes while they're talking. Some people like to read lips if someone talks too quick, or if you go into another country and you can't really, if they speak broken English, you can understand some, but you can't understand all. So you try to read lips to maybe see what they're saying. So kinesics is probably the one that we use most that we do not know that we're actually using. So the next one is called
Proxemics.
proxemics. Now, proxemics deals with the amount of space that you give somebody when you're having a conversation with them. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term of being in somebody's bubble or personal space, but sometimes when you're too close to somebody, sometimes they get a little intimidated. Even if the conversation is kind or nice, sometimes people just need their space while you're speaking to them. So that has to deal with the amount of space that you give between you and the person that you're communicating with. Now, also, you have to remember that if you are too far apart from the person, sometimes that might come off as maybe you're not interested in their conversation, so you're kind of walking away from them. So at least stand straight, look straight at them, and have a little bit of, don't be too close, but make sure that they're comfortable with the length that you're, how far you are back. Okay? So the next one is called haptics, which is about touch. Now, touch means it could be for people or it could be for animals as well. I have 3 dogs at home, so, if I tell that they're doing bad, I'll go like this and I'll touch their nose with my finger so that they know. But sometimes if you rub them with your arm or with your hand, then they know that they've done something good. Same thing goes for people. Obviously, I don't recommend anyone touching anybody's face, but sometimes when you're having an in-depth conversation with somebody, you want to touch their arm, you touch their hand. Usually people do it with people that they are comfortable with. You never want to do it with somebody that you've just met because you don't know. Like, we go back to the amount of space somebody needs. You don't know what kind of space people need in order to feel comfortable in having a conversation with you. So the next one that we are going to speak about is called
Paralinguistics.
paralinguistics, which is about your voice. Now, I come from a big family, so a lot of people are loud, and that's because there's so many of us. So people want to really carry their voice over people. But sometimes when you're having a conversation one-on-one, you don't want to be too loud because, again, you don't want to be intimidating, especially if you're meeting someone from another country and it's the first time you're meeting them. You also want to think about the speed of how you're speaking. If you're a quick speaker at home and your family's a quick speaker, you can get away with that because they know how you speak. But if you're in a different place, it's always good to talk slow, talk clear. You want to make sure that your tone is right. You want to make sure that you pause just in case they have something to say. You don't want to talk over somebody. a lot of the times when you're speaking to someone, especially in another country, um, a lot of times it's respect is a lot different in different places. So if you're an American going to somewhere overseas, you want to make sure that you're giving them the upper hand. You are in their home. So you want to make sure that you're saying the right things, you're doing the right things, and you're respecting everything that they have to say. So the next thing is called
chronemics.
chronemics, which is about time. Time can very much be used as a communication tool in many ways. It talks about time management. How long is it taking you to have the conversation? Are you having a quick conversation? If you're having an in-depth conversation, you have to understand that sometimes people don't want to sit and have a 20-minute long conversation unless it's something that you're both interested in talking about. So you have to be thoughtful when it comes to that. The next is physical appearance and attire. Now, when you're going overseas, if you're going to really anywhere else, if you're going to any other state, if you're going into, you're on their turf now. So it's a different type of feeling. So you want to make sure that you are being as respectful as possible. I always go back to respect no matter what. So physical appearance and attire is important because you don't want to be a slob. You don't want to be dressed as a slob. You want to be, dressed comfortable, but also you want it to make you want to let people know that, hey, look at me. I respect your country, and when I went to Italy when I was a sophomore in high school, and I was able to sing for the Pope Benedict at the time. And when we were going to churches, the girls that was on the trip with us had to wear longer skirts and whatnot, and we, the boys, had to wear uniforms. It was kind of like suits. And nice clothes, nice khakis, because it was about respect, and we wanted to show the people of Italy and everyone around us that we were going to be around, that we had the utmost respect for them. Now, the next one is called
oculesics.
Oculesics, which is about the eyes. Now, I talked about this before. When you're having a conversation with someone and you're looking directly at their eyes. Sometimes people don't like eye-to-eye conversation, but if you're having a conversation and you see eyes wandering the entire time, that person might not be interested in having the conversation with you or continuing a conversation with you. So it is really important to just, if you're not big on staring at their eyes, to just take a look and just make sure that they are having an actual conversation with you and not having a conversation with everybody else in the room, or if you're outside, having a conversation with the bird that's flying by. So the next one that we're going to talk about here has to deal with your ears and how you listen, as well as other things, and that is called
olfactics.
Olfactics, which is it's actually, surprisingly, a sense of smell in which you use nonverbal communication, and it's an odor. You don't want to smell when you have a conversation with somebody. So, that's kind of like the first thing someone notices about someone when they come up to you and you're having a conversation with them. If you have bad breath or if you have some type of body odor, that's going to hit you first, and then you're going to say, okay, maybe I don't want to have a conversation with this person. So hygiene above all is very important for nonverbal communication, because you want to make sure that you're not going to scare anybody off when this happens. So basically what I wanted to end this video with was explaining just once again the do's and don'ts of having a conversation with somebody. When you're overseas or when you are just talking to someone in your backyard. You want to be respectful. That's number one. Respect goes a long way. And that starts with what I just last talked about was body odor, hygiene. You want to make sure that you are clean, so that people want to have a conversation with you. The second is don't be afraid to use your hands and to be, you know, to be theatric with the things that you moving around and stuff like that. I mean, that's okay. That's fine. You always want to make eye contact with people. Sometimes if you're in another country, something that I do that's very important, if I do go somewhere else and I cannot understand what somebody is saying, is to talk slow. And you can actually look at their lips and try to read their lips as much as you can, because you don't want the whole time saying, huh? Huh? What did you say? I'm sorry. So you want to try as hard as you can to do that. This has been a wonderful video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great night.